So we have a question that is from our Sunday call, and it has to do with can seduction, getting your sexual life in order as a man or potentially as a woman, but really it's for men. Can it change everything in your life? And why does it? Because the easy answer to this is it absolutely will. It absolutely will. You kind of got to do it a certain way, but why? Why does this happen? Why do we become evolved, better human beings starting out through sex? You might think it's impossible, but it's a way that we've done for, man, at this point, coming on like 14 years. So pretty cool stuff. Give it a listen and let me know what you think. So how come when we get certain things in our life, they move into order? And what we're talking about today is we're talking about how when we get things sorted out through sex, relationships, connecting with people, the pursuit of women, and of course, this is for men, but if you're a woman, it would be with men. If we really get that sorted out, and there's a secondary part to it, then other things in our life fall together. Now, this is different than, oh man, I got in a relationship and now I'm happy about my job, and then 6 months later you're not. This is about your ability to dive deep into yourself, the things that are super important in your life, like your psyche, your well-being, who you are, your identity, your body and relationship with that, your mind, relationship with that. How come when one of those things gets unlocked, everything falls into place? Now here, it has fallen into place with women. And the reason why we bring this up is because this was really the foundation of all of my coaching practices, since 2007 or 6 or whatever it was. And I discovered this. This was something for me that was so huge, probably around 2008. In fact, it was definitely around 2008. I remember one of the exact moments. And see, for me, before then, man, it was interesting. I was just I was just talking about this with family members. Crazy, but for me, when I was 18, 19, and had a lot of problems with the relationships and all those things, and had a lot of problems with my mother, which stems into your problems with women and so on. When I was 28, I didn't have that much experience with women. I had had relationships, and actually at the time, it's kind of interesting. From 26 to 28, I think my amount of women I had been with, because like as a guy, sometimes you count these things, was 13. But before 26, it was like 4 or something like that. So it just like skyrocketed from 26 to 28. And then at 28, I found the pickup community. And in that, I found so much, like it was amazing. It was like, wow, you could touch a woman. You could touch a woman in public. You could get makeouts. You could approach a woman in public. You could do all these different things that I thought were impossible. And it was amazing. And I was highly sexually driven, and I was a big risk taker and had a lot of relationships. I was telling somebody the other day that I went from having sex with 13 women in my entire life to having sex with like 40 women year after year after year, or more or less, give or take a few. And there's something about that is beautiful and bad. And I'm just telling you my story here really quick, and this may not be relevant to the main point. But this is what happened for me. It was like I had this enormous amount of sex and the problems that come with it, and really bad ones that ultimately you have to be responsible for and attempt to fix in whatever ways you can. But from that, what I got, especially in 2008, was that nothing was wrong with sex. In fact, it was a necessary thing about us. It was fundamental to us. It was something which you had to do. And if you ignored or distorted or perverted, for lack of a better term, if you repressed, if you put it away, if you tried to control it, it would end up controlling you. It would end up harming you. It would end up doing all the things that messed you up. And now some things are better than others. Like, for instance, if you repress it and ignore it, you can go about society and do so many different things. But with that, it'll sneak back up later in your life. And you just saw this with men. You just saw this agonizing lifestyle and confusion and identity. And the way that I came up with this was because in all those years, from 28 to about 30, there was so much confusion around sex, and it became disgusting in a way. And then I had sex with somebody in 2008 where everything changed. And it just, that time kind of, it reset stuff for me. And it was beautiful. And I realized that it was beautiful even though it could be distorted and perverted and fucked up and traumatic and evil. And I had those things in my life to pull from. So then when we started dating and we had an open relationship, we had a closed relationship at a time, and it was beautiful. It was the most amazing healing time. And this is where I realized that if you have good sex, what happens? And it's real obvious. Like you know this, if you have good sex, you stop judging. If you have good sex, you're at peace. If you're angry, frustrated, confused, if you have a lack of identity of who you are, if you don't know the right decision, if you don't know who you are, if you have good sex, those things subside. And what's interesting is what subsides there is not that your problems go away. It's not that you don't have to be a part of society. It's not that things don't have to work. But the part within you that was out of alignment, that has to do with sex, finds peace. So the part within you can understand the difference of beauty, can understand the difference of beauty and being wrongly seduced, meaning like, you know, somebody plays you or something like that. It can understand the difference between passion and anger fueled by insecurity. In that part, post-sex or during sex, you get a moment of truth to understand deeper things about you. Those deeper things are going to be like all the things that confuse you. Like, man, why do I not want to be used by women? Why do I not want to be, belittled? Why do I want to, like, I'm not going to carry her bag around in public. But in that moment of sex afterwards, you realize the difference between that. Oh, is she using me? Am I being taken advantage of? Am I not representing myself? Because post-sex, post those times, I will find a moment where all that stuff's okay. All of it's okay. But then 2 weeks down the road, maybe I'm holding her bag in public. Maybe I have to go pick her up or take things out of my day. I suppress something out of my day to do for her. Like I'm upset by it. And because I'm not representing that part, I'm representing a different part. And so it gives you a window to distinguish which of those things are true and of you that teach you so much. It's interesting because in another video, which I'll do shortly after this one, is that we realize that our pissed offness towards women, our pursuit of power, our pursuit of all these different things is a running from who we become when we get the truth of what women are. Like when we get the reality, and I hate using that word truth because anybody who's mentally ill that wants to convince you of a certain point always says it's the truth, and that's probably not the truth. Okay, so, but that moment of complete reality, of complete bliss, of where you feel a woman's presence, that makes all the things within you that might be popping up at the surface, these dysfunctions that are always on high in our social lives, subside. And so when you get that enough, and everybody's different, I don't want to propose a certain lifestyle to you, but if you get that enough truly and not abusing the situations, but with multiple women, you exponent that. And now if you don't want to do that, you can find it with one woman as well. But it's a little bit different. But for some of the guys in our groups, and this is, on our Sunday call where we're talking about it, is that when you get this moment of truth from women, and she gets the moment of truth from you, that awesomeness of where you completely give your entire masculinity to her and she gives your entire femininity, it goes off to be its own thing. Man, that gives you the opportunity to go, wait a minute, that was an insecurity. Wait a minute, that was something else. And it's an amazing thing. Wait a minute, I am being drawn in these different ways. Wait a minute, this is not what I want. And of course, you don't need to make any rushed decisions, but this is a beautiful time and a window of exploring who you are. And if you don't take that opportunity, it can get really, you miss a huge part out. And a part out of sex. And so many people do that. It's crazy. It's crazy. I'm all for people hooking up on the same night. I'm all for whatever type of sexual behavior you want. I'm all for like having, my friend's band used to have this song that said, unprotected sex with multiple partners. If you want to do that, you can do that. There's obviously, you could get consequences for that. But that could be a beautiful experience if you're willing to bring you to that table. Now, when that happens, here's what happens. So my company TSL, the sexual life, for years has done this. First thing we do is inventory ourselves. We inventory ourselves and we build social dynamics, like how to talk to somebody, how to start a conversation, how to move to, is this person right for you, how to build rapport, different topics of rapport, all by using that model of what we explored ourselves with. So our identity workbook, and you can find it online, for free. So when you do that, things start changing. You build connections. You build conversations. You start to have relationships. You start to discover what your sex life is. If it is monogamous in relationships, if it is, multiple partners or whatever, you will realize that parts of you change because you have now brought a deeper part of yourself to the table. What was immediate, first TSL in 2009, the first one, these two guys from Australia signed up and they did that. I didn't think they'd get any results. I was like really worried. And they got the most results. One guy, his job changed. He went up like 4 times of what he was making. I remember he went to a party with one of the original investors of Facebook, and it was just crazy. It was nuts. He started dating models, and the dude, man, I'm sorry, man. You and I are not the best looking people. I'll just say that. But it was insane. It was insane. What I realized, and after doing the course, now 20 plus times over and over again over the past 10 years, is that when that happened, he reflected what he wanted. You may not want those things. And what I realized is different people's results were very different depending on who their image of self was. So his was to do a lot of elitist stuff that we see in society, live as a part of the social elite. But then we have other guys who stay at home. They're happy with where they're at, but they become more of themselves. Back to the original question, which was how come when we get our sexual lives in order, or literally any born to be quality, it allows the opportunity to get all these other qualities in order. So in this case, when you get your sexual life in order and it's at a deep level, you'll start to care more about your mind. And it's not going to be immediate, but you'll notice these things start to pop up almost very quickly. Start to care more about your mind, your mentality. Start to care more about your body. You'll start to care more about the meaning of socializing. You'll start to care more about your purpose. Now, like I said, there's a lot of guys who become amazing at seduction and they don't care so much about their body, or they may not care so much about their purpose. But over time, it starts to round out. And ideally, to where those things, you don't need a title to build excellence in your life. It just becomes, and they can point it out. But definitely, absolutely, through sex, you can become an amazing, amazing human being. And the fact that we're afraid of sex so much, that we repress it, that becomes taboo, that becomes a part of kink, that it becomes... Now, all these things exist within sex, but because we force that, it gives us a bad starting place with this beautiful, awesome thing. All right. So if you like that, come build the discussion at Austin Men's Development. That's our free board. Rebuild challenge is $10, 14 days. You get calls and PDFs, and I work with you directly. Or you can come on by to MDX, which is where this call is being facilitated on. We're in our 6th hour of our Sunday call, and it's always a good time. So we've been doing that for over 10 years. It's pretty cool. So check all the links out down below and shoot me an email if you like. All right.